You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week.
Hi everyone, I'm Walt Gray and you're watching ABC10 This Week. We're hearing from the families of two of the victims in a deadly Yuba City double homicide outside a 7-Eleven. And a $15 fee for 15 pitches has Davis softball players rethinking their batting cages. Then we hit the backroads. John Bartell heads to the mountains of Idaho, exploring a tiny gold rush town where dusty secrets, secret societies, and some strange pieces of history are still hiding in plain sight. ABC 10 This Week starts right now.
Talking to the families of two men killed in Yuba City over the weekend. The victims were just 18 and 21 years old. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has the emotional story.
Neighbors who live near the 7-Eleven say they could hear anywhere from 10 to 15 gunshots on the night of the shooting. The family of Moses Mendoza revisiting the scene here on Tuesday, trying to make sense of what happened. Flowers and candles at two small memorials at this 7-Eleven mark the site where two men were killed in Yuba City Sunday night. On Tuesday, parents, siblings, grandmother, and other family of 18-year-old Moses Mendoza gathered at the gas station to figure out where he was shot. The family sharing these pictures of him, but telling ABC 10 they're not ready to speak on camera. Yuba City police say Mendoza and 21-year-old Fernando Cortez were shot following a reported fight and multiple shots outside the convenience store on Market Street. It happened around 11 at night. Police say when officers arrived, they located Mendoza suffering from a gunshot wound. He was then taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Officers also located Cortez, who had sustained a gunshot wound and was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say a third victim arrived at the hospital with a gunshot wound to his hand. Mendoza's mother says her son was with his cousin and Cortez, who is a friend, and that he was around the wrong people on the night of the shooting. The entire family is adamant Mendoza had no criminal record and was not gang affiliated. They also say he worked for the Yuba City Unified School District and had aspirations of going to the military. He was the oldest sibling and leaves behind 3 brothers and 3 sisters. The family says they want people to remember Mendoza as a hard worker, funny, and someone who got along with everyone. In the meantime, police say at this stage, the investigation remains very active and that their investigators remain fully engaged in follow-up on leads and processing evidence. They're also looking for anyone responsible for the shooting so they can bring them to justice. Mendoza's family says they have a GoFundMe set up so that they can cover funeral or any memorial services. We'll make sure to share that link on our website. In Yuba City, Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
We want to start tonight talking to the victims of that stabbing in Old Sacramento. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias is there live. And Roxanne, what did they tell you about that scary night?
Chris, I sat down with a mother and her son who made it out alive out of all of this. Laura Castile says these last few days have taken a toll on her and all the other families who are hoping that their loved ones fully recover after being stabbed here in Old Sacramento.
All I remember was we were hanging out and then I got hit by something in my head and I blacked out. I saw my brother on the ground and then I blacked out again.
Reginald White is now at home recovering from 3 stab wounds to the head. White, who has a 5-month-old child, says he and his friends were out for a night of fun. One of those friends is Avante Brown. We spoke with him as he lay in his hospital bed after being stabbed once in the side.
I just remember I was talking to a lot of people. Like, we were just chilling. We was having a good time, laughing. And then, yeah, that's like one of the last things I remember.
Sacramento police say 5 people were stabbed and taken to hospitals. Police later detained 3 men. One, 18-year-old Ezekiel Griffiths, was arrested on assault charges. But it's unclear what exactly prompted the stabbing.
From what I understand, like, one person hit 5 people, and that's not okay. Like, going around hurting people, that, like, it could have been way worse. It could have been way worse.
It hurts. It's heartbreaking.
Laura Castile is the mother of Reginald White, one of the survivors of Saturday's early morning stabbing that left 5 people hurt in Old Sacramento.
My security of feeling safe for him is not there. I'm up and down all night because I don't know if I'm going to wake up in the morning and not have my son breathing.
She says her daughters told her they needed to rush to the hospital after White was stabbed near the intersection of K and Front Streets. Castile says the incident has tainted her thoughts of Old Sacramento.
I've never had to worry. I worry now. I don't want him downtown. I'm scared. I won't go downtown.
Her request is that this brings attention to the violence Old Sacramento and downtown are facing. She's calling on city leaders and law enforcement.
Step up. I haven't heard nothing. Why hasn't a detective contacted me? Why am I not being aware of things that are going on? I want justice, not just for my child, but these other boys. It's not fair.
I reached out to Sacramento police. They told me they were not doing any interviews today, but they did say that the suspect who was arrested is the only suspect at this time and that the investigation is still ongoing. As for the mother and son, they say they do plan to be at that court hearing tomorrow for the person that was arrested. That starts at 1:30 tomorrow. They also say they believe other people were involved in this incident and they also want them to face charges. I'm live in Old Sacramento. Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
My goodness, so thankful those victims survived. Our Roxanne Elias, we thank you for the live update. And now to the new safety plan in Old Sacramento. Police are announcing changes after a violent weekend. ABC 10's Paul Sunga is there live tonight. And Paul, these changes, they start tomorrow?
They do, Chris. We're less than 24 hours away when those changes take place, and those changes are going to be, there's going to be no cars here on Front Street where people are going to be able to walk around. That is how they're going to be able to get to wherever they need to get to. And so police tell us this is going to be a one time a day where they're going to be doing it, and the reason why they've picked it after 10 p.m. is because that's when they've had the most issues out here.
The lights are still on in Old Sacramento, but after 10 p.m., the way people move around is about to change.
Provide a more welcoming environment for people.
The new traffic plan closes vehicle access to the western portion of the district every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, beginning at 10 p.m.
This is in response to just all of the activity that's been going on in Old Sac, recent incidents, including that stabbing.
The latest stabbing saw 5 people injured early Saturday morning. Sacramento Police and the Downtown Sacramento Partnership hope fewer cars and more officers will help break that pattern.
This is a safe spot. Many of these issues that have happened at 2 or 3 in the morning when nobody is down here business-wise, businesses aren't open, and we want to really break that cycle.
I appreciate what they're doing.
Wonderland gift shop owner Sabine Temolsina says most shops are closed before the restrictions begin.
But I think it might help to reduce something like that because there are more police and more checking or anything that's going on over here, so that's going to help for sure.
One visitor we spoke with says they're willing to trade a little convenience for safety.
I think it would be a smart idea. It is a little cluster when it comes to all these cars, so I can totally get it.
Police say people will also see more officers at closure points.
This is a safe environment, but those who choose to come down to Old Sac, commit crimes, create violence, that's not going to be tolerated.
And police say they will continue evaluating these plans over the next several weekends and that these road closures, which start again tomorrow, will continue as long as they are needed. Reporting live from Old Sacramento, Paul Sunga, ABC 10.
Okay, Paul, thank you. And now to a big price increase for the batting cages in Davis. Some local players are not happy. ABC 10's Paul Sunga explains.
What was once a quick and affordable trip to the batting cages is now fueling a much bigger conversation.
On a busy Wednesday night, adult softball teams filled the fields. Just steps away, the city-run batting cages sat empty.
I'm not super happy about it.
Josh Danzig has been feeling that way for the past few weeks. Davis raised the price of a token from $3 for 15 pitches last year to $15 for the same 15 pitches this year. That's now about $1 per pitch.
They wanted to increase the price. They could do some work on the cages and make them better to incentivize people to actually use them. Because even before, it wasn't super worth, the price.
The price hike stands out compared to other local options. In Folsom, it's $3 for 20 balls. At Rock and Brews at Cal Expo, it's $2.50 plus tax, and you get 20 balls. Isaac Fournier couldn't believe it.
I thought you were joking. $15 a token, I'm not going to be doing that. It's a waste of money. So
The price change has also become a topic of discussion on Reddit. The city declined an interview, but sent ABC10 this statement. The new fees were adopted after a Parks and Community Service fee study was conducted to determine the cost for providing the service. The fee was approved by City Council.
for a while, they were just closed. So I guess they're just having trouble keeping them open. So they got to jack up the price like crazy. But no one's going to use them if they're like ridiculously overpriced. I know of some batting cages in Sac that we could use instead.
And some residents we spoke would now wonder if the higher prices for the batting cages will keep people away and whether that could eventually give the city a reason to say batting cages are no longer needed. Reporting from Davis, Garch Paulsunga, ABC 10.
A night out in Sacramento is getting a little bit more expensive. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. And that's because starting this month, all parking meters now will run until 10 p.m. Local business owners say that they are seeing the impact on customers. I want to bring in ABC10's Becca Habegger to explain a little bit more about some of the changes people are going to be seeing. Becca?
Yeah, Alex, prior to July 1st, already 80% of the parking meters in the city of Sacramento had to be fed until 10 p.m. But starting this month, the city expanded that to 100% of its meters. In places like Lavender Heights, where meter enforcement used to end at 6 p.m., the change is leading to confusion and citations.
So like the Comedy Spot, we moved in 2009.
Brian Krall is founder and executive director of the Sacramento Comedy Spot, located on 20th Street between J and K Streets. Until July 1st, parking meter enforcement here ended at 6 p.m. Now it runs until 10 p.m., and Krall says at least 10 customers have complained about getting tickets since the change.
Because we don't want people coming down here, getting a ticket for $77, and then never coming back to the area again. It's hurting business in that area.
Krall brought his concerns to Sacramento City Council members at last week's meeting, asking them to pause restrictive parking enforcement in the area between 6 and 10 p.m.
I don't think there's adequate signage down there right now. Just this past Friday, there were 4 cars lined up that all had tickets. I don't think that they were all rolling the dice to see if they could get away with it. I think that they just didn't know they had to pay. And I don't think all 4 of those people will come back to Sacramento if they're from outside of Midtown.
ABC10 reached out to the city of Sacramento for an interview about Krall's concerns. A spokesperson replied with a statement saying, as with all metered parking throughout the city, customers should check the parking meter for the applicable hours when payment is required, including rates and payment instructions for that specific location. All city parking meter signage directs customers to check the meter for details. Customers using the Park mobile app will also see the hours when payment is required before starting a parking session.
The signs on this street do say "See meter display for details." These kiosks do say parking is enforced until 10 p.m. every night of the week, but Brian Krall says he thinks that information should be printed clearly on all the signs along the street.
You know, so if they don't see the kiosk, it doesn't tell you when you have to park. So now people are like, do I, don't I?
Krall says he does appreciate how responsive the city has been to his concerns, including his council member Phil Pluckybaum and city staff. We spoke with Krall right after he had a Zoom meeting with 2 city parking managers.
Very nice people, again, proposing solutions, trying to figure things out. And they're actually putting a hold on some of the enforcement for a while they do try and create signage that's a little bit more clear.
He shared an email from one of the parking managers saying immediate actions will include adding the hours of meter operation directly to the parking meter signs to make it clear to customers when payment is required, in addition to several other measures meant to help ease drivers into the new later parking meter enforcement period. Krall says ideally he'd like to see parking enforcement rolled back to 6 p.m. in evening entertainment districts.
I know they're trying to do their best, but I would just like them to really think about this situation, how special this corridor has been and will continue to be to Sacramento. And maybe we can make special exceptions for parts of the town.
The city points out meter rates did not increase this fiscal year. I spoke on the phone with Councilmember Phil Pluckybaum, whose district includes Midtown and Downtown. He says parking issues are the highest frequency complaint his office receives, and the city tries finding solutions that balance the city's need for revenue with the needs of businesses and customers. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you so much.
New tonight, lowriders and a business owner in Modesto are speaking out after their fun came to an end over the weekend. ABC 10's Peter Warner is live in Modesto to explain. So, Peter, what happened?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, we're still here at the restaurant itself. You can see some of the lowriders here behind me that were here on Saturday. And many people who were here on Saturday are frustrated. They do feel that the Modesto Police Department actually targeted their meetup that they had here that night. And all they're left wondering now with that frustration is they're still trying to figure out what exactly it is that they did wrong.
Junior, the check cashing is closed all the way down. The cash check place gave us clearance. I can tell you about 9 people in my department that have instructed us to come out here.
This is video from the scene outside of Snow White Burgers in Modesto after police arrived Saturday evening to shut down a meetup between lowriders enthusiasts.
We didn't even have time to get cars off the trailer. We didn't have time to do nothing. The cops had already came in here and you guys need to shut it down.
Organizers say police told them they didn't have a permit for the gathering, and one was required due to the number of attendees and for an amplified speaker.
We had one Bluetooth speaker, and so he said it was an amplified speaker that we couldn't have. We had to have permits to have an amplified system, which was not. I can bring the speaker here today and I can show.
In Modesto, a permit is required for events with more than 75 attendees, amplified music, alcohol, or city services.
When the police showed up, we had a good, 40 people, 40, maybe pushing 50 at that time. Because like I said, we were still pulling cars in, pulling trailers up, so we didn't even have time to really do anything.
The owner of Snow White allowed the gathering and says this was far from an event.
Can we just come hang out? It wasn't like I want to do an event.
One of the organizers told ABC10 he called the city asking if the gathering required a permit. He claims the city told him it wasn't needed. We reached out to the city and they said they were unaware of the situation and are working to get details. We also contacted Modesto PD for more information, but no one has responded. For Martinez, the hope is that the city listens to their concerns and makes a change.
It's an uncomfortable feeling. It doesn't even feel like home. It feels like we're not supposed to be here.
And the owner here of Snow White Burgers does have a plan on August 5th to meet with not only city officials, but members of the police department here as well to discuss with them what actually went wrong and also make sure that there's going to be no issue so he can host events just like that here in the future at Snow White's Burgers. From Modesto, Peter Warner, ABC 10.
Okay, good to know, Peter. Keep us posted as you learn more. Welcome back. A new plan being led by state Republicans to require ID when voting is facing pushback from Democrats. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh is here now to explain.
Fewer than 100 days out from the general election, the debate over Proposition 39, which voters will get to weigh in on, is growing more contentious.
A very visual depiction of how heated things can get in politics leading up to an election.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, this is such a red meat issue.
Voter ID is at the center of a growing partisan battle over a measure that will appear in front of voters on the November ballot, Proposition 39. It's called the Prohibits Citizens from Voting Unless They Present Government-Issued Identification Initiative. It seeks to require additional identification from voters each time they vote.
If asking for normal security is something that is becoming very partisan, we should really investigate what is going on.
Republican State Assembly member David Tongipaw is in support of Prop 39. Meanwhile, Prop 39 opponents are ramping up efforts, with Democratic leaders Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas and candidate for Governor Javier Becerra co-chairing a new coalition called No on Prop 39 Block Election Rigging. They furthered their opposition on Wednesday, with Rivas and Senate President Pro Tem Monique Limon filing a lawsuit, arguing Prop 39's proponents have been misleading. The new lawsuit alleges the descriptions of the measure set to be presented to voters are, quote, misleading and false. They point to a statement that Prop 39 keeps voting easy while making it more secure. Limon and Rivas counter the measure adds identification requirements and that there are no provisions to increase privacy concerns. To which proponents say,
and if voter ID is racist and disenfranchising, or ID is doing that alone, do they have the same thoughts when it comes to opening a bank account? going and functioning in human society.
The lawsuit also says proponents falsely and/or misleadingly state Prop 39 would save money. But according to the nonpartisan legislative analyst's office, Prop 39 could cost tens of millions to the low hundreds of millions of dollars.
And we believe that this will save time, streamline the process, and guarantee that Americans are voting in American elections.
Tongipa adds he believes this will prevent the need for post-election audits. Meantime, there's another lawsuit by the yes side. Proponents allege the state attorney general unlawfully changed their ballot title and summary into an inaccurate partisan description. The state has countered all 9 ballot initiative titles and summaries have been revised. Now, both lawsuits do face a time crunch as the deadline to make any changes to the language of a ballot measure is August 10th. Chris?
Okay, Jenny, thank you.
With election season heating up, campaign ads are, of course, everywhere. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. As AI becomes more sophisticated, one California lawmaker wants to limit how it can be used to influence voters. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen is here to break it down for us tonight.
Well, Alex, Democratic U.S. Senator Adam Schiff is the main author behind the AI Ads Act. This comes after Republican candidate for governor Steve Hilton released an AI-generated ad that Schiff argues is problematic and fraudulent. He hopes his bill can put a stop to this, but experts say changing the rules around political ads will be an uphill battle. In a recent ad from Republican gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton, it shows him as a fighter against what he calls the machine. Featured in the AI-generated ad are images of Governor Gavin Newsom, former VP Kamala Harris, and Democratic gubernatorial candidate Javier Becerra.
It's already a violation of the law to defraud people in political advertisements. I've reintroduced legislation, the AI Ads Act.
This bill, if passed, would expand the existing federal election law and prohibit the use of AI to falsely impersonate candidates, campaigns, or political organizations. The bill would apply to anyone or group who produces these ads. To be clear, this would not ban the usage of AI in campaign ads.
All of these ads, total fakes meant to misrepresent to voters the positions of real people, real candidates, real incumbents.
But author and journalist Al Tompkins says it'll be difficult to pass this bill as the rules and regulations around campaign ads are heavily protected.
The courts have always given the widest possible berth to free speech when it comes to politics. So the courts federally have been very reluctant to restrain speech, political speech. But in the age of artificial intelligence, states have stepped in to do the work that generally would have been left to Congress.
In 2019, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill that would crack down on deepfakes in elections, and in 2024 signed 3 additional bills addressing deceptive AI-generated election-related content. But even with these new laws, Tompkins says it's still up to the voter to be educated when consuming political ads.
We've been able to alter the way that people sound in recordings, on video and film for decades. So there's nothing new about that. What's new is it's easier and even more convincing now. But it's not new that politicians lie about each other. That's not new.
In a statement, Steve Hilton says in part Adam Schiff is another creature of the same corrupt machine and wants to silence criticism. He adds that's not democracy. ABC 10 did request an interview with Senator Schiff, but Alex, he declined.
All right, Jeannie, thank you.
When most people think of the gold rush, they think of California. But deep in the mountains of Idaho, one tiny town also struck it rich. And today, you might drive through it without even knowing it. This is Idaho City, and if you want to uncover its riches, you'd better get here early to beat the traffic.
You don't have a whole lot of asphalt in town.
No, we don't.
No. How many stoplights do you have in town?
None.
Okay, maybe you don't need to get up that early. But to find out what makes Idaho City so valuable today, you need a guide who knows where the secrets are buried, and that's where Barbara McLean and the Idaho City Historical Foundation comes in.
Idaho City was the main location for the discovery of gold in the Boise Basin. There was a huge gold rush here.
The dusty streets may look sleepy today, but in the 1860s, they were packed with miners. The gold rush was so big, it helped drive the creation of the Idaho Territory Territory in 1863 and eventually statehood in 1890.
Our gold helped fund the Civil War, and that's how Idaho became a state.
Today, the gold may be harder to find, but Idaho City still has plenty of treasure hiding behind its old wooden doors. One of the town's strangest treasures is Pioneer Lodge No. 1, home to the Oddfellows.
Oh, wow.
It is cool, isn't it?
It really is.
Turns out these weren't odd people. Well, maybe just a little.
They used a real skeleton in one of their rituals. I mean...
They had rituals?
Oh, yeah, very elaborate rituals.
Besides having a few skeletons in the closet, the Oddfellows would gather and decide how to help widows and orphans. And according to Barbara, they often wore costumes for some reason.
Do I know why? No, I don't. But they are fun.
A quick walk down the boardwalk leads you to the Boise Basin Museum, which has enough mining relics, photographs, and oddities to keep history buffs busy for hours. It also holds a grim piece of history from Idaho's last territorial execution.
This is Herman St. Clair. He violently killed his mining partner, John Decker, and he was our last territorial hanging in Idaho City. But what makes this display so special is we actually have the hood that he wore when he was hung.
Over at the county building, you can attend a county commissioner meeting in an old saloon.
Do the commissioners, do they have a drink after the meeting here, or?
Not in this building.
Well, if you find yourself needing a real drink, head over to Harley's Pub. It's one of the last remaining 40 bars that once thrived during the gold rush. Inside, there's enough taxidermy to put any zoo to shame. Just keep an eye out for the legendary Chippelope.
They come out in the fall. They are rampant and very dangerous if you get in between their babies and them.
The gold may be gone and the roads may still be gravel, but in Idaho City, the real treasure isn't buried underground anymore. It's hiding behind old doors, inside former saloons, and sometimes right next to a skeleton. From Idaho City, Idaho, I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the Backroads.
And thank you for watching ABC 10 this week. We're here 24/7 on the free ABC 10 TV streaming app. You can get your local news and weather anytime, anywhere. I'm Walt Gray. Take care. We'll see you next time.
And remember, the ABC 10 Weather Impact Team is always here for you 24/7. Get the latest conditions anytime with our live 24/7 radar on our free TV streaming app. Just scan the QR code for easy instructions to download the ABC 10 app wherever you stream ABC 10.